moment is usually quiet. Sometimes it unfolds in a hospital bed, other times at home, surrounded by loved ones, or in solitude. The body comes to a stop. The heart ceases to beat. Breathing, which came and went freely throughout life, exhales one final breath. Yet, what many fail to notice is that something is still occurring at that exact moment. Something profound and invisible to the physical eye. The soul, the essence of consciousness that inhabits the body during life, begins to loosen its ties. It's not an abrupt rupture, like flipping a switch. Instead, it resembles the slow unraveling of a deeply knotted thread, woven from years of experiences, emotions, memories, and choices. Near-death experiences offer a glimpse into this transition. People who have been clinically dead for a few minutes often describe similar sensations, a feeling of lightness, unexpected serenity, and a clear awareness of being separated from their physical form. Some say they saw their own bodies from above, as though hovering near the ceiling. Others heard voices and sounds around them but couldn't interact. Consciousness remained, awake and alert, but detached from the body. This separation isn't only physical, it's energetic. Many spiritual teachings speak of an invisible cord, often called the silver cord, that links the physical body to the spirit. As death approaches, this cord gradually thins until it breaks, signaling the final separation from the material world. But not all souls detach easily. In sudden or traumatic deaths, or when individuals are deeply attached to material life, the process can be confusing, even painful. The soul might linger, shocked and unaware of what has happened, crying out, but receiving no response. It's like waking from a vivid dream only to find you're no longer part of the world you knew. Emotionally, this moment can be overwhelming. Imagine living with the belief that death is the end, only to suddenly find yourself aware, floating above your lifeless body, hearing sobs, feeling the energy in the room, but unable to engage. A new chapter begins, but it starts without a map, without direction. For those spiritually attuned, however, the transition is more peaceful. They sense the presence of guides, loving, luminous beings offering comfort and reassurance. The soul feels gently welcomed, as if a hand from the other side is reaching out. Everything begins with that final breath, but what many consider the end is, in truth, a beginning. The soul is released, but not empty. It carries all its experiences, joys, sorrows, and wisdom. It leaves the body behind, but brings with it the story of its life. What comes next is what we now begin to explore. Imagine awakening in a familiar place that feels completely foreign. Colors look different. Sounds seem to echo both from within and beyond. People pass by, unaware of your presence. You call out, try to reach them, but nothing happens. You're there, yet invisible. For many souls, this is how the awakening in the spiritual realm begins. Consciousness does not fade after death. In fact, it often becomes even more vivid. But the soul doesn't always realize it has passed. This creates a deep confusion. It recognizes its thoughts, emotions, even its sense of self, but no longer has a body to interact with the world. This disorientation arises because the soul still clings to the rhythms of earthly life. It may try to go home, speak to its children, finish unfinished business, but doors remain shut. Words go unheard. People don't respond. A sense of isolation and distress builds. Some souls may linger for days or weeks, especially if death was sudden, a car crash, a heart attack, or worse. The shock is so intense that the spirit takes time to comprehend its new reality, as though waking from a coma with no one around to explain where you are or what happened. Certain spiritual paths, like Spiritism, say that this post-death phase is critical. If the soul is too bound to the material world, to pain, or to unresolved missions, it may stay trapped in what is often called the lower plane, a state between worlds where human emotions persist, but with no physical outlet. Spiritual connection makes all the difference. A soul that lived with mindfulness, compassion, or faith is more likely to receive help. Spiritual guides draw near to aid in the transition. For those who lacked such connections, the process can be slower and lonelier, though never abandoned. It may just take longer to recognize the signs and let go. Interestingly, people approaching death sometimes report seeing deceased loved ones. What many dismiss as hallucinations may be the soul's first contact with the spiritual dimension, a subtle pre-awakening as the other side begins to call. In the hours after death, it's common for the soul to follow what's happening to its body. The arrival of medics, the weeping of family, the gathering of friends. All of this contributes to its growing awareness of separation. The soul sees and feels everything, but no longer belongs to the physical realm in the same way. This shift in reality is often difficult to accept. While earthly time ticks on, in the spiritual dimension, time changes shape. But across various traditions, from Spiritism to Tibetan Buddhism to mystical Hinduism, there is a belief that the first 7 days after death form a passage, a subtle corridor where the soul stays close to material reality, processing its transition. During this window, the soul often seeks familiar people and places, sitting by the hospital bed, following loved ones on the road to the funeral, or lingering around the wake. There's no longer physical urgency, but an internal drive to understand, to comfort, to say goodbye. For the living, the wake offers closure, remembrance, and support. For the soul, it's a chance to witness, almost from the front row, the impact of its departure. Every tear, every thank you, every smile through grief helps the soul reflect on the legacy it leaves behind. Mediums or sensitive individuals often describe sensing a soft breeze, a sudden chill, or a gentle presence among the flowers. These are subtle signs that the soul is present, moving through this deeply human ritual it belonged to just yesterday. It smells the incense, hears the conversations, sees the photos placed on the casket. These details help it grasp that its earthly chapter has ended, a vital realization to move forward. During those 7 days, the soul still vibrates close to the material plane. That's why the emotions of the living can influence it powerfully. Desperate cries or denial, "I can't live without you," emit heavy energy that can hold the soul back. Meanwhile, sincere prayers, loving remembrance, and peaceful acceptance act like gentle lanterns lighting the way forward. Many cultures mark the 7th day with ceremonies, prayers, or storytelling. Spiritually, this is seen as a kind of energetic closure. If the soul accepts its passing and receives support, its vibration rises and a portal appears. Some describe it as a tunnel of light, a silver bridge, or a gate of mist, inviting the soul onward. But this isn't a fixed timeline. Some souls cross over within hours. Others, still bound by fear or attachment, remain for months. The 7 days is less a deadline than a symbolic cycle, like the moon's phases or the notes of a musical scale. Once this phase completes, the soul has what it needs to move on from Earth's dense vibrations and enter more refined spiritual realms. For those who remain behind, knowing that their loved one can still sense their emotional energy, can profoundly reshape the grieving process. Pain gradually transforms into appreciation. Sharing stories that honor the person's life, offering heartfelt prayers, or simply sending loving thoughts can provide real comfort and ease the soul's journey. For those contemplating their own mortality, understanding this symbolic 7-day corridor encourages a life lived with fewer emotional loose ends, prioritizing forgiveness, building bridges instead of walls, all of which help prepare for a smoother transition when the time arrives. Following the first 7 days, during which the soul often stays close to the material world, a quieter but equally significant phase begins, the 40 days of parting. In this stage, the soul begins to let go of earthly ties and enters a profound process of reflection, healing, and liberation. The idea of a 40-day journey appears across multiple spiritual traditions. In Christianity, for example, Jesus remained on earth for 40 days after the resurrection, before ascending. Spiritism regards this period as one of energetic cleansing. Tibetan Buddhism speaks of the bardo, the interval between lives, which can also last around 40 days. This number holds deep symbolic weight across cultures, often representing transition and inner transformation. Throughout this period, the soul engages in something like flipping through the pages of a recently completed life story. This is not a trial or external judgment. There are no judges or scales, just a deep inner reckoning. The soul relives its decisions, emotions, and intentions, but the most powerful element is that it now feels the impact of its actions from the viewpoint of those affected. If the soul caused pain, it now experiences that pain as if it were the person who suffered. If it gave love, it re-experiences the joy and comfort it offered, but through the other person's heart. This process is one of the most transformative experiences in the afterlife. Understanding the true ripple effect of one's actions. Spiritual guides, often described as beings of light or mentors, typically accompany the soul during this time. Their role is not to judge, but to support and illuminate. They may show what alternative choices could have been made, help interpret the reasons behind certain life struggles, and most importantly, guide the soul toward learning and release. While the past cannot be changed, deep insight can be gained, and this wisdom helps dissolve feelings of guilt, resentment, or idealized illusions that still tether the soul to its former life. Material attachments, homes, possessions, careers, habits, even certain people begin to loosen their grip. This detachment does not mean forgetting the ones the soul loved. Instead, the love becomes clearer, unclouded by ego, expectations, or past grievances. Yet even this stage can be painful. Some souls feel the weight of loved ones clinging to them through sorrow, promises not to move on, or intense grief. Despite their good intentions, these emotional cords can hold the soul back, like chains on someone ready to walk a new path. During this time, dreams involving the departed tend to become vivid and emotionally charged. These are not mere dreams, but often actual visits, opportunities for the soul to offer messages, closure, or simply one final look. These dream encounters help soothe the hearts of those still living and allow the soul to gain emotional permission to continue forward. At the end of this 40-day process, a final energetic release occurs. Now lighter and more aware, the soul prepares to move into more subtle realms of existence. It bids farewell to earth, but carries with it true love, essential lessons, and the core of its identity. For those still living, this moment may be felt through subtle signs, a sense of sudden peace, the unexpected scent of a familiar perfume, a favorite song playing out of nowhere, or a butterfly landing in an unlikely place. These quiet signals often mark the soul's final departure. One of the most powerful realizations for many is that even after physical death, the connection between the living and the deceased remains active, especially during the early months after passing. The emotions of the living deeply resonate with the soul's continuing spiritual journey. At first, this may seem far-fetched, but consider this. When alive, emotional bonds can make us feel one another's state even from afar. Without a physical body, these emotional currents flow even more directly. In the spirit world, feelings are transmitted as pure energetic waves. Grief is natural, the sorrow, the tears, the yearning. But problems arise when love transforms into desperate attachment. Thoughts like, "I can't live without you," or "Come back to me," carry emotional weight that binds the soul, pulling it back just when it's beginning to move forward. Out of love, the soul may remain close, attempting to comfort or offer signs, but this can lead to confusion and delay the transition. Some souls linger for months or even years, not out of fear, but because they feel responsible for their grieving loved ones. Yet this entanglement can be painful for both. The soul cannot ascend, and the living cannot fully heal. This does not mean forgetting, far from it. It means cherishing the memory without being trapped by it. Love never disappears. It only evolves. And once the soul is free to continue its journey, it can return in uplifting ways, to inspire, to protect, or simply to remind you that the connection endures. Eventually, after detachment and life review, the soul stands at a threshold, sometimes guided, sometimes drawn by an inner call. It is a moment of crossing when spiritual gateways open and the consciousness is invited to proceed. But where to? Is there a fixed destination, a heaven, a purgatory, another realm? The answer isn't as rigid as traditional doctrines once taught. In truth, the destination reflects the soul's inner frequency, what it cultivated within during its life. These spiritual portals are vibrational passages. Some souls are led by loving guides. Others follow an intuitive light from within. Yet not all can immediately cross. Souls burdened by dense emotions, guilt, fear, bitterness, may remain in limbo, unable to access the next realm. Destinations vary. Spiritist literature, especially the work psychographed by Chico Xavier such as Nosso Lar, Our Home, describes spiritual colonies, cities in the astral plane with hospitals, schools, gardens, and centers for study and healing. These higher vibrational realms welcome souls who lived with dignity, compassion, and a desire to grow. They offer care and orientation, helping spirits remember their deeper spiritual nature. Outside of these colonies lie the astral planes, realms layered by vibration. The higher the soul's frequency, the more luminous and symbolic the experience. Time flows differently, and thought shapes reality. In denser regions, often called the threshold or the valley of shadows, souls may find confusion, suffering, and emotional entrapment. These aren't punishments, but rather reflections of the inner turmoil the soul has not yet released. Not every soul immediately reaches a spiritual colony. Some need time to shed the emotional weight they still carry. But the path remains open, and with each moment of awareness, forgiveness, and love, whether given or received, the soul takes a step closer to peace. Many souls don't immediately ascend to a specific spiritual realm. Instead, they often pass through transitional zones, places of observation, rest, or preliminary healing. Think of these as spiritual triage centers where the soul is welcomed by guiding spirits, undergoes vibrational assessments, and prepares for its next destination. In these spaces, reunions with previously departed loved ones, longtime spiritual guides, or unseen entities who supported them during life are common. So, does the soul choose where to go? The answer is both yes and no. It's not a conscious selection like picking a hotel, but rather a natural alignment. The soul is drawn to a realm that matches its vibrational frequency. However, those who cultivated inner awareness during their lifetime are more attuned to the process. They recognize the energetic gateways, understand the spiritual invitations, and follow the path with greater clarity and less resistance. Once the soul enters its new vibrational realm, it begins a profound phase of healing and spiritual education. At this stage, the soul dives deep into the understanding of its earthly journey, the experiences, emotions, and lessons still awaiting integration. Death doesn't erase pain, trauma, or regret. These emotional wounds remain until they're consciously healed. Contrary to popular belief, disincarnating doesn't reset the soul. The self-awareness continues. The first experiences often include entering serene healing spaces, bright, peaceful environments where compassionate beings assist the soul's energetic and emotional restoration. Some souls literally rest, entering long periods of deep spiritual sleep that can last days, weeks, or even months in earthly time. It's a period of decompression, needed to recalibrate their essence after leaving the dense energy of physical life. Others may undergo more active forms of treatment, receiving magnetic healing, immersing in high-frequency energy, or engaging in conversations with spiritual mentors who help them gain clarity. All of this is designed to help the soul regain equilibrium. Once restored, the soul is invited to expand its awareness through learning, not through dry, theoretical knowledge, but through experiential, transformative understanding. In the spiritual realms, learning centers or schools exist, where spirits grow by reviewing past actions, understanding emotional resonance, and studying universal laws like cause and effect, vibrational alignment, and unconditional love. More than anything, the soul begins to discover its true identity beyond ego, free from roles, names, or nationalities. It connects with its essence, which is in itself a powerful healing process. As the soul gains strength, it may prepare for its next step, but this doesn't always mean reincarnation. There are many paths. Some souls choose to stay in the spiritual realms to deepen their growth, assist others in transition, or work on specific missions. They may become spirit guides or messengers, helping the living. Others, realizing there's still more to learn through material experience, begin to plan a new incarnation. This decision is never rushed. It's made with care, in conversation with mentors. Every detail is mapped out: family, key challenges, talents, and pivotal encounters, all designed to foster growth. You may wonder, Can souls return to visit Earth? Yes, they can, and often do. These are not reincarnations, but temporary visits to bring comfort, closure, or support. Such visits are usually subtle, though some can be profoundly moving. Common ways souls visit. Dreams. Perhaps the most impactful method. Many who have lost loved ones experience dreams so vivid and emotionally charged that they awaken convinced the encounter was real. And often it was. These are not typical dreams, but soul-to-soul meetings in the astral realm, made possible by our temporary separation from the body during sleep. We exchange love, say what was left unsaid, and wake up feeling lighter. Subtle signs in waking life. A fragrance that suddenly fills the room. A song with significant lyrics playing at just the right moment, or an unexplained movement of an object. These are gentle nudges from the soul, letting us know they are near, especially when we're in emotional distress or open to their presence. Apparitions. Though rarer, some souls can appear in more visible forms, an outline, a soft glow, a figure at the bedside, or a whispered voice. This tends to occur with mediums or highly sensitive individuals, protective interventions. Some souls act as guardians, stepping in to prevent accidents, inspire decisions, or gently guide loved ones. People often describe it as a strong intuition or an invisible force nudging them, because that's exactly what it is. How to encourage these encounters? Keep an open heart. Make peace with the loss. Accept life's cycles. Send loving thoughts. Pray with sincerity. Remember with joy, not grief. Speak to them softly, not to demand their return, but to honor their presence. But don't force it. These visits happen when the time is right, and never if it causes harm to the soul or the living. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means loving without possession, and it's often through that release that the soul feels free to return, not in form, but in spirit, to offer comfort, inspiration, or a quiet reminder that love endures. After someone's departure, our perspective on life shifts. We begin to feel more deeply, to value what truly matters. We realize that energy, our thoughts, emotions, and intentions creates bridges between worlds. This awareness leads to a key realization. We are responsible for our own vibration. Every act of love, every grateful thought, every prayer we offer, it all resonates, influencing not only our path, but also that of those we love in spirit. It's no surprise that elevated souls can visit more easily. They vibrate at higher frequencies, and those still on earth who maintain clear, light energy often feel them more strongly. If you feel called to realign your energy and connect more deeply with your essence, consider exploring tools that help elevate your frequency, such as guided gratitude practices, mindful living, or vibrational alignment programs. In many traditions, the first year after death is considered sacred and filled with spiritual milestones. The seventh day marks the first major release from the physical realm. The 40th day represents the conclusion of the soul's detachment process. The first anniversary is seen as a final energetic closure, a spiritual harvest of everything the soul experienced in life and during its transition. After this full year, a profound shift occurs. The soul has usually reached a stable place in its new realm, engaged in spiritual service, learning or preparing for a new chapter. For the living, this anniversary can be more than a day of sorrow. It can be a celebration of life's continuity in another form, a time to look inward and upward, and to understand that all is part of a vast, intelligent, loving cycle.